Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Hong Kong AAA Annual Cultural Leadership Summit. You are attending the first session, Workshop 1A. Before starting the session, I would like to draw your attention to a few house rules. This workshop lasts for 75 minutes, expected to be completed by 11:15 a.m. Hong Kong time. For audiences in the room with us, please feel free to submit your questions by scanning the QR code. And for our Zoom audiences, you may submit your questions to the Mentimeter link or type them through the chat box, Q&A box. HKAA will record the talk and reserve the right to use the recording taken. My name is Josephine Wai, and I'm the moderator of this workshop. For our audience joining the talk via audio or visual impaired audience, I am Chinese female. I have short hair and I'm wearing glasses today. And I'm also wearing a light blue outfit this morning. And may I first introduce the two speakers of today. To my left is Jeff Leung. Jeff is an independent curator, writer of exhibition reviews, lectures in arts, visual culture, and arts administration. His recent curation includes an art bus exhibition that promotes inclusive arts, inaugural exhibition of the K11 Art Mall, as well as the various earlier this May. Curator and researcher, for potential models of residency programs for Hong Kong contacts since 2012. And joining us via Zoom is dance artist, Wei-Sun Poon. Wei-Sun is a contemporary dance artist, creator, performer, and researcher. He is a well-experienced participating in national residencies and working with peers and artists in Europe and Asia. Wei-Sun the Hong Kong Arts Development Awards for Young Artists in Dance in 2016, and he is currently studying Academy for Performing Arts. Well, Jeff and Wei-Sun. Introduction for audience who join us through video.
Jeff. I have long hair and I love wearing my flag cap every day. So now I have my cap and also I love to dress in a very colorful way. Now I have the brick red jeans and the blue shirt. For this, I hope I can ensure every car driver can notice me well on the street for safety, the traffic safety. Thanks.
Wei-Sun, can you also give a visual introduction of yourself?
Yes, thank you, Josephine, and thank you, Jeff. I'm Wei-Sun Poon, and today I did not wear the mask because I'm doing the quarantine at home. And the other hand, I wear the white t-shirts, I'm short hair and Chinese guys here. I'm happy to share my viewpoint on residency in here. Thank you.
Thank you, Wei-Sun. The topic of this year's summit is international cultural exchange, and it relates to our vision to become an international cultural exchange center in Hong Kong. I guess we could not agree more to this vision because looking at our own infrastructure, we already have international art fairs and also art festival in Hong Kong. We have world-class museum and state-of-the-art performing arts venues. And also, I think Hong Kong has a great possibility to become the gateway for touring productions and exhibition in China. And this session, we would like to invite the audience to investigate and take a look together with us the possibilities offered by residency programs or artists in residence. I would particularly like everyone to think about two questions that I would like to pose. First of all, is there a place in the blueprint for us to become an international cultural exchange center, to have more artist residencies in Hong Kong from all over the world can establish, will be attracted to visit Hong Kong so that Hong Kong will be a place for artistic collaboration and exchange. Learn about Hong Kong and the rest of China and immerse into our Chinese culture. And also, should we encourage, facilitate, and support the growth of our artists through residency programs to ensure that we can have a vibrant art scene as the bedrock of the International Cultural Exchange Center. This workshop, therefore, will focus on international residencies. And there are actually many, many international residencies all over the world. And may I start a camera roll of some of the residency programs that I have researched and share with our audience, just to give you a sense of what's out there, in the international communities. Okay. There are thousands of residencies over the world, and no two are the same in terms of the mission, condition, opportunities that they offer, operational mode, fee or stipend structure. They have different application and selection procedures. The network and position in their respective local communities are very different. For arts managers and organization hosts, you will be very interested in Jeff's presentation, as he will share his research on models of residency program. And this will be followed by Wei Sin speaking from the other side of the coin, as he will share his experience and observation as an artist and participant of residency programs. Before we move on to invite Jeff to speak, let us do something fun. Let us start with a poll on what's on your mind when we talk about residencies. Okay, the question. Can I ask help to show the first poll question in the screen? Okay, the first question is, what do you think are the most important objectives of residency program? You can give more than one. And you please give your answer via the link as well, or via the QR code. Okay, you will have 30 seconds to give your answer. People would think the most important objective would be to hone the artist. Some people would like the networking, or they would like to engage the local communities through residency programs. So what do you think? Let's see. Most people think the most important element are the artists. Very meaningful answer. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And let's do another one. This one is multiple choice. What are your favorite elements found in a successful residency program? What's your favorite? And the 5 choices are, number 1, me time and space. Option 2 is meet new friends. Connect with local communities where the residency program is. Option 4, accomplish new art pieces or projects. Option 5, get invitations from other organizations after the residency program. And you can vote up to 2 options, and you will have 20 seconds to do so. And let's see the result. How many percent like to connect with the local communities? Okay, I think you can see the results better than I do through your monitor, because the monitor in front of the stage is really far from us. But thank you so much for your participation. So without further ado, I think it is time for us to invite Jeff to present his findings and proposition on models for residency programs. The time is yours, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Josephine. Yeah. In the coming 15 minutes, I would like to use 2 cases to share with you my insight on the let's say, structures or the elements of AI art. For the first case, I try to use a mind map called a value proposition in order to show that in every AI art program, we may have at least 3 key stakeholders. I have my own interest on AI art because later I found that exhibition is not the only way and even not the best way for artists for art productions. And then AI art is not even in the 60s or 70s, we found it already. And since 90s, I said more AIR programs are popular in European cities or even European city, and then around 2000 or before, more Eastern Europe cities, they would take this way too. For me personally, I love AIR's model rather than exhibition. It is because it seems that it is a quite different production models for artists, which can take more time for artists to, I would say, consolidate their idea. A more longer period for transformation of their ideas. So that's why a long time ago, I have the chance to get the ACC grant to have a brief survey in New York. And I back to Hong Kong, I realized even for the last 5 to 10 years, more IR program in Hong Kong. Based on my own observation, I would say that in Hong Kong, more IR program with more focusing on cultural and social issues related, or in short, we would say those are AIR in related to the community program or community art. Secondly is most of the program are run or initiated by institution. Of course, it's clear the reason maybe Hong Kong always in the condition of high rent land. Everything is too expensive. So that's why institutions have their own privilege to initiate. But so let's go to the first case I would like to share. In 2005, a group of Hong Kong artists, they tried to make their own I would say a kind of artist-run AIR models. So they look for many players and funders. So the key problem in 2005 is money and place, because still suffering the high rent situation at that moment. But luckily, they found the location in Wan Chai in 2005. Wan Chai actually is simply say a historical district with long history, but still very vibrant in terms of the populations and the economic developments. In 2005, a group of artists in collaboration with local social welfare organization, they're able to get some space in a old building. Old means they nearly to demolish. Before the demolish, they can get the place under the lower rent. So finally, the group of artists, they make the residency program called Wan Chai. Under this title, already have several implications. First, to identify the location about this AIR, they invite both Hong Kong artists and overseas artists to stay in this old buildings, and then they can keep hang around in the districts, and they make their own artwork. Before the productions of the artwork, before the presentation of the artwork, artists are invited to share their own observation, share their own project to the community in Wan Chai. So according to this short introduction, you would think, okay, it's classic, common, typical, welcome AIR model. But what my observation is, throughout during the AIR program, some overseas artists, especially one from South African, they will find out, why are artists in Hong Kong so busy as if the Hong Kong businessmen? This is point one. Point two, when I talk with the so-called local neighbors in Wan Chai, I found that at the very beginning, the neighbors would feel not afraid, I would say, feel a bit cautious on the event, because this is their first time to find several South African people hanging around in the districts. So after a few months, at least 2 to 3 months, they get used to it and even get friends with that African artist. So here for me is 2 insights is what is the expectation between the community which hosting the AI out and which and the artists, what is their expectations. So that's the, okay. That's why I try to identify the expectation, because as a curator or event planner, I think that if I can well identify the expectation of different key stakeholder or key parties, I can well construct the model, the program model in advance. So that's why I try to use this value proposition, which is very common in startup business, because based on this value proposition, we can identify the main users, what is their expectation, and based on this mapping, we can identify, we can construct our own so-called product or the events. So I think the key point in this mind map is if we can well identify the gain and pain of our users, let's say artists or even a community, we may simply find out the key elements of our AIR. So here just for your quick sharing. For me, I would think the most important is, can we identify the most important key stakeholder, not only the artist, but the community. So here I will leave you to have a thought. So this case, in conclusion, I would say community is one of the key stakeholders. Sometimes we may overlook, especially at the initial stage when we do the planning. So next case is a quite, I would say, recent one, which is finished in 2019. It takes around more than 7 months, which is a AR program happened in an old village called Chun. Actually, it is a subordinary program under a community art program by a governmental department called the Art Promotion Office. So the Art Promotion Office appointed a curatorial group to facilitate this AR program. So a group of artists are invited to be the artists under this AIR program. And they are invited to meet the villagers in order to make something in the villages. Within the AR program, different artists have chance to know the villagers and try their own way to find different possible art productions over there. The key background or context I would like to address is this is a heritage villages, but still environment. For example, this village called Chun actually is a very popular scenery site for the hiking lovers. This is one hand, which means on Saturday and Sunday quite busy over there. But in weekdays, because this is a very old village, which means mainly the elder generation stay long there. Most of the younger generation work out or just stay a short period within. So you can see the population, or so-called the typologies of the population over there. And so artists try to react on this cultural and neighborhood context. Now I would like to present some videos, because here I would like to invite all the audience in your home, at your home, having your own coffee. I would like to spend around 4 minutes to show 2 videos in order to make some refreshing air for you, because in the coming video you can see some greenery countryside scene, which is record what the artist doing. So please, can you help me to prepare the videos? And I think audience can start to having your coffee, and let's have a look on the video.
Hello， 我係喜。咁我哋屋企喺八鄉，咁就喺大帽山嘅另外一邊嚟嘅。咁我哋屋企範圍入邊咧有創園同埋魚塘，咁就同川龍村咧分享同一塊食山水。
幾百年嚟啦，呢度嘅村民咧，佢哋會用山水嚟種菜、做豆腐或者係清茶。 咁我哋覺得佢哋係同水嘅關係咧好接近。咁幾百年嚟個河流都咁清澈，其實係好難得啦，代表住佢哋好尊敬河流。咁我哋就用河流嘅其中一樣成日出現嘅一個植物叫石菖蒲草嚟做我哋嘅創作。咁我哋就用呢個草咧嚟整咗啲沙水龍頭啦，咁就會安裝喺沙水流個村民嘅屋入邊嗰啲檔口度，咁就標記翻沙水流過嘅地方。
我哋根據石菖蒲草嘅形態咧，整咗個立模，跟住我哋製作咗數十個咧新製嘅水龍頭啦。咁我哋就嘗試咧係幫一啲住家或者係一啲鋪頭去換一啲新嘅水龍頭嘅。
另外咧，我哋又會喺陸尾嗰度咧整一張石台，高高低低嘅一啲石整成一張石台咧，就好似河流一邊嘅溪流嗰啲石咁樣啦。咁石上面咧會有啲窿，嗰啲窿咧就係攞嚟咧裝呢啲嘅幾十個嘅沙水龍頭。
因為陸尾咧喺村口嘅位置，咁我哋就歡迎咧村民經過嘅時候，如果佢有興趣嘅話咧，我哋都可以幫佢換一啲水龍頭嘅。
So next one is the other artist trying to also make a project for Chunong village, especially focusing on the heritage or the histories.
咁我叫阿俊啦，咁我阿爸咧係客家人嚟嘅，咁但係其實咧我自己就本身唔識講客家話，咁今次喺村落嘅創作咧，其實都係同客家話有關嘅。因為之前就已經知道呢個係客家村啦，咁我就都花咗少時間喺條村嗰度觀察啦，咁後尾咧就發現，啲村民都好中意唱，都好多都呢幾中意唱歌喎。跟住咧，我就決定揾唔同嘅村民咧去唱佢哋最中意嘅歌曲啦。咁但係要用翻客家話唱嘅。咁我將呢啲歌曲咧就錄咗音，咁然後咧想擺落一個好似教育電視櫃咁樣嘅流動裝置啊，咁到時就可以喺村唔同嘅地方嗰度擺啦。個目標咧就係希望咧啲觀眾聽住啲村民唱歌，咁然後咧又可以一路學客家話啦。咁咧如果佢想跟住唱嘅話，咁佢就可以睇嗰個電視上面嘅文字啦。咁就係一個我自己諗出嚟嘅客家話嘅就係廣東話、英文同埋普通話嘅拼音方式，咁就去顯示呢個客家話嘅音調咁樣。
So this is a closing gala for the whole AI art program. So yeah. Oh, thanks. Yes, good. Go to the PowerPoint. So I'm sure of you, when you watch the video, you can realize, oh, it's good and very common and also fit our expectation. All the art are quite so-called site-specific, or even I would say contextually specific. Well, react on the heritage or react to the livelihood of about the villages. So that's good. This is what we almost AI planner or programmer now expecting. But if you really take time to read to watch the exhibition of the documentations and talk with the artists, you will realize all these idea or the final products only initiated or generated or brainstormed in the middle of the program, in the middle of AI our program. It is because at the very beginning, the artists take at least 1 to 2 months to visit visit mean regularly stay over there for days or for hours, not only for the place, but to really meet the artist through the arrangement by our administrator, the AIL programmer. So that's what remind me, everything comes from within the process rather than the advanced planning, or even not only based on the creativity, but about the relationship. So that's why for me, I would think that the process is more important. Hi, James. Hi, good. So the process is important, which means the relationship between the key stakeholder, what I already mentioned, the organizer, the artist, and the community which holds the AIL. The relationship is changing. In order, we would think that the well divisions of labor can make things happen, and the good planning can foresee our outcome. But I think under AIL program, the process is something. The process is the situation. Allow or even facilitate the relationship between among these three stakeholders changing. But this changing is not talking about good or bad. It's really talking about the relationship is always dynamic. So that's why I try to use the other stakeholder model, Salem model, which is try to not only emphasize the power, that means, or the privilege and the needs. Here he used the term urgency instead of the needs. Use the power to represent the resources, what they can use, and legitimacy to referring to the privilege. So I'm not going to talk the fear. I'm just trying to use the table to show you that, for example, at the initial stage, because the organizer is the initiator, that's why they will have the highest power and legitimacy and urgency to make things happen. But especially in the middle of the period, usually the outcome is highly rely on both the artists and the neighborhood in the community. For example, in this case, Chinong case, the artist trying to find some place to live for more than 2 or 3 weeks. So that's why the artists and even the organizer have to highly rely on the support or facilitation by the villages. So that's why the relationship between the village and the artists will getting close and increase for the close communications or close cooperations. And then in the final stage, maybe something changed. For example, they after several months, let's say over 4 or 5 months, the artists and the community getting close, they may change their own expectation onto the project too. So that's why such artistic outcome from the video we found. So that's why I would simply say within the process of the AIL, the relationship between the three stakeholders may change by time, although we still insist or retain the basic mission or visions on the left-hand side in this PowerPoint. For AIL, we still hope that we can help artists to connect with the people and place and condense their thoughts or the ideas, or even facilitate the artists to create their own stuff. But this is the initial planned, estimated goal. Within the process, we are not change the mission, but we have to change the way how to facilitate or achieve and accomplish the initial missions. So that's why I would say in short, I think, next slide, please. I think for me, AIL, different to exhibition project, is more like a process that every parties, whatever you say, a stakeholder or the other terms, they are in a dynamic relations. We are always under the condition giving and taking. And that's why our expectation may change by time. But this change of expectation may be the key or even the magic where the creativity happen. And final 2 point is because changing, that's why we as the organizer, I would think we have to be more sensitive on the changing context, including the relationship, include and the conditions. So finally, I think most of us in this AIR, based on the previous 2 points, I think that our visions on AIR may not just about the products of some creative stuff, but more we're expecting on the engagement on changes, including the relationship between the artists or communities. For example, back to the case in the videos, after the AIR program in Chinlong, if you try to buy their documentation publications, you realize some of the artists still going back to the villages, being friends with some of the villagers. So I think this is the outcome what we are more expect rather than only a artistic production physically display over there. So I think at this moment, that's what I'm trying to share with you my insight, and more other thanks. More other interesting residency nowadays you can find on website, and more publication and database website you can find easily now. So thanks.
Thank you, Jeff, for a very inspiring analysis on residency program. My take is I'm sharing the 2 very interesting case studies in Wan Chai and Chinlong. And I think the South African artist interacting with Wan Chai local residents is really genuine cultural exchange to me. Yeah, and you also reminded us of a very important stakeholder other than the artist and the organizer is the community. And the whole process of residency program cannot be engineered. It is actually very dynamic and spontaneous. And one of the most precious outcomes that we can achieve out of these programs is relationship building, because it is relationship that will last, that will be long lasting. Yeah, maybe even more so than an art project or art outcome. Okay, so let's, Wei-Sun, are you ready? We're going to move on to your session. And before we invite you to speak, shall we do another fun poll? And this time, the question is more provocative, right? Yeah, and the question is, Wei-Sun, can you put up, what are some of the practice or elements that you would not like to see in residencies or in artist residency? And again, please use the QR code or your link to give us your thoughts, to share with us your thoughts, and you will have 30 seconds to do so. And I think most of our audience have some experiences with residency program or have friends or artists, know artists that's been to residency program. What are the things that they've shared with you or you have experienced that you would not like to see in residency program? Unsafe spaces, absolutely. So we need face masks, hand sanitizer, and quarantine policies. Yeah, another, and I can just give you some ideas. Yeah, do you need a time in the space? Do you want the organizer to arrange everything for you? Do you want the organizers to arrange to give you an arranged marriage?
Assignments.
Assignments. Really good. What is, I don't, what does that mean? PIS, what is that? Time limit, reviews. These are very important reminders for arts managers and art administrators. Thank you so much. And I think it applies much more than residency program. It's actually applied to everything that we do as arts managers. Okay, so Wei-Sun.
Yeah.
So back to you.
Yes.
Yes. And please share with us your observation and experiences in attending residency program. The time is yours, Wason. And thank you so much for participating in the poll. Thank you, audience.
Okay, I will going to share my screen. So, okay. Thank you, Josephine and Jeff, sharing. About the third poll question, actually, I have my own opinions. Actually, something elements I don't want to is about project oriented or arranged marriage, and then lack of me time, and also the last thing is pay for everything. I also see some keywords on the word cloud, so maybe we can talk about later, and then with some friends who mentioned something as similar to me in our Q&A section. So now I will continue to my today's topic from my personal perspective. Just a small reminder, I'm a dance artist and based in Hong Kong. I believe that dance is universal language. From my past professional artist practice and career experience, I have worked in different places and also connect with other countries' peoples. And most of the time, this language is a bridge and is a way of thinking in my brains. So I will trying to use my experience of artists in residencies. I was trying to share my experience of artists in residency from dancer's mind. So here I think the meaning of artists in residency is in the form of a liquid. It's such as light water, because I'm changing in different stage of my career. When I need to focus on different needs at every different stage, I will asking myself those basic questions. Who am I? What do I need? When do I need it? And how can I get it? Etc. So most of the time, I form my action plans based on my reflection of artists in residency. At that particular stage, I found a solution for my development. So I think artists in residency is one of a solution for the artists to develop themselves. Here, I will focus on sharing when and what these two questions for on my artist residency experience. The first question is, what do I need an artist residency program? When do I need artist residency program? And what do I need from the artist residency experience? I categorize the three motions to clarify the different stage and different needs. So let's see the three motions. So one is a jump, and the other one is roll, and the third one is turn. There are also there are the dance movements, and there are also physical motion as well. I hope this motion sense can relate your personal experience and also your thought in your brain and your sensation as well. So here, in this dictionary, jump means propelling yourself off the ground. In my development, when I need an artist residency, when do I need an artist residency for a jump? I think it is the beginnings of my career or creations, because I need to use the jump to connect the spectator and looking for a quick response. It helps to open up my landscape of my creations and to shape my idea to become more clear picture. For example, my experience is joining a program or case study relating my artistic contest. So here is one of an example I would like to share is relating that jump motion. Asian Superpositions Showcase Collaboration Project of Asia Dance Company. Its residencies that I participate on 2015. You can check something information on this slide while I'm talking. I was invited to be a dancer in an Asian dance company in South Korea. I represented the Asian identity dancers for the company. There were 14 dancers from 12 Asian countries, and also every dancer has a strong identity based on their origins. At that moment, I have to rehearse for 8 weeks and to create 2 dance pieces with 2 choreographers. They are from Japan and South Korea. In that context, so it's many and different kind of Asian culture backgrounds artists grouped together. I think it's really helpful for me to consider and reflect on what is my identity as a Hong Kong artist. And how can I apply my Chinese culture and knowledge to my dancing and creation? I observed and exchanged throughout the rehearsal journey. We share something similar dance concept, for example, energy or nature of power. This residency also formulates my movement research for the future. It provides an impact on the beginnings of my independent artist career. I noticed and realized that I am interacting with the world, is carrying my own culture, identity, and background, etc. So it's a jump for myself to understand Hong Kong to Asia. So here is the second motion. Also, it's kind of dynamic in the when I'm thinking about residency. It's about roll. So roll, it means that a rotatory motion of an object around its own essence. When I have a core idea or concept about my creations, I will still lack of confidence and strategy to achieve my goals. But that feeling is like a pendulum. So I kind of thinking about yes or no for facing my actions or facing my choice. So I really need expand my knowledge and the creative toolbox. And also I'm looking forward to connecting a different spectators, different perspective, and also exchanging the idea and creativity. So I'm really lucky in 2016, I participated the residency program called Creative Meeting Point Hong Kong Cross Finland. It was 3 years long artist residency program with 3 Finland and 3 Hong Kong dance artists. We experienced 6 residency periods and 3 at Nordic and 3 in Hong Kong. One of essential activity in this residency program was joining a dance market during each residency periods. I felt that motion is like rolling around to the different conversations and communications and exchange my artistic interests and creations. Through the dialogue and meeting, I connect the new skills and insights for my future creations. Whatever I wrote into different conversations, I never lost my core of artistic developments. I was trying to go deep into what I'm researching and what I'm developing from the very beginning, what I planned. So this is the last motions. It's about turn. So as a dancer, if it means so in this dictionary, this meaning is about a movement in a new directions. So as a dancer, when we need to build up a strong core and stable essence to when we're doing the turn. So also, if you are dancers, when we're doing turnings, if we have a really strong focus sport, that will, when we do turning, we also cannot feel dizzy as well. So I think focus and also clear sport is really important at that motion. So in this stage, when I already have a strong goal and clear picture for grabbing the material for my developments, I maybe can let go some of control and immerse myself in the environments, and also allow the external environment to fit me. I can digest and transform the information and resources that can benefit my developments as well. From 2019 to 2020, I participated the Asian Cultural Council Fellowship. I have a really good living and research support for 6 months in Indonesia, US, and Japan. In that experience, I don't need to worry so much about my income and production outcomes. Most of the time in this residency, I just need to focus my research topic and prepare my openness to face different issues coming to me. So you can notice this year, 19 to 21, is about quarantines and also about COVID, about all the pandemic situation. So it's really tough time, but I really glad all the stakeholders really helping me to finish this residency. To be honest, there was many artist impact, and I was so happy and secure to meet that difficulty and immerse myself in the pure art journey in the unfamiliar environments. Because I really felt the support from the organizations, I felt the freedom to try something meaningful or meaningful action. So after this residency, I consolidate my movement research and writing a handbook for my future, writing a handbook for my future creations. And this was not on my plans at the beginning, actually, but I just followed the journey and then land on this writing process. So I think it's quite motivate for me to, this experience really motivate for me to do something about writing and jot it down something really concrete for the future in my creations. So here is my summary. So no matter how I categorize my experience, I hope you can hear valuable something for you. When I prepared this PowerPoint, I found 3 words to conclude my sharings. One is about interdependency, listening attitude, and gardening. So interdependency means the fact of depending on each other's. I know this work in this book, The Heart is Noble, Changing the World from the Inside Out. So I think this work give me an image about everything is connecting each other, and also is similar like a network is supporting the artist or supporting the artworks happening. So if one of elements in this network is change and also doing something else, or how they act, they really will affect the network, how to support the artist. So I think also the book is about heart, also about our mind, how we think and how we prepare our mind to join the or organize and participate the residency is really important. So that's why I think to think about that basic philosophical questions, what and how and why, is really important for everyone to prepare as well. And the other hand is about listening attitude. I think I also remember Jeff also mentioned something about the South African artists. They saw the Hong Kong artist like a businessman, and actually I really reflecting on me because I think sometimes I'm quite busy. So I always remind myself is I need to have time to allow the beauty of silence happens, because that silence can allow me to have the listening myself and listening the situations, and also giving my reaction to the situation and making something happening and benefits for the situation and also the development in my career in that situation as well. So the last keyword is about gardening. And recently, I'm reading this book. Is from Louis Yu. So what makes a city cultural? So I think gardening is a really poetic work and also is practical work. In that image, I think when I read this work, in my image is about how the person or how the stakeholder to in the right moment and in the right place and doing the right things. So that is quite strong and visual for me to think about gardening this work and relating and what I'm doing as well. So I think I always mentioned my movement research. Actually, because after my I left my company on 2014. I started to find my way to doing something creation developments. So one of the things is I need to try to find my movement's language. So go through that process when I'm reviewing my history. Is I also incorporate different resources from different institution to support my development. So you will see my role here has a many institutions to support my developments. But I think in this quarantine time or pandemic times, I think in the other way, I also can develop this my movement research. But if you're interested in how I go and where I go in the future, so you can scan this QR code or maybe you can search this name on the internet. So on the way down, so then you can find some contents about what I'm doing in my research. So thank you. This is all for my experience and sharing my residency experience as well. So thank you. Then I will passing the mic to Josephine. Thank you.
Thank you, Weston. Thank you for sharing your residency experience from an artist's point of view, and also give us some tips on how we can utilize and approach these opportunities in case we have one. And I also like to mention that, yeah, Weston got an ACC grant during 2020, when it was the most challenging time to do cultural exchange. And I remember at the end of the day, Weston was only accomplished 30% of his intended activities in the application proposal. And 70%, he did accomplish a lot, but it was not what he was imagining at the very beginning. And during the process, he has been so open, so resourceful, and flexible and full of agility. And that's how he made it work and how he was able to get the most from the opportunity that he received through this residency opportunity. And I would also like to thank you, Jeff, for a very academic and inspiring presentation. I think we are very fortunate this morning because we have two panelists that approach the notion of residency from two different angles. One is very academic and rational, And Wei-Sun is from an artist's point of view on how a residency can help the growth of an artist. I really want to hear both of you interact. Yeah, what do you think about each other presentation? Yeah, do you have anything that you want to ask each other? Jeff.
Let me do first.
Thank you.
Back to the reasons PowerPoint. I think that the last key point, gardening, is so important, and I think it's a more correct term in react to my point about the process of AI art. It is because gardening remind me that you cannot just do the regular action to make things happen. You also have to well observe and consider what's going on, and then you have to react and change. So that's why I think gardening is even a more appropriate words. In my perspective, is the appropriate word with warmness, showing the interaction, a kind of interaction between different parties. So that's what I would like to address at first right here. So how about Wei-Sun or Josephine?
Yeah, from my point of view, I think when I hear the work, we hear the residency programs, Chun Long Chun, it's really inspired, because recently I doing some volunteer in Chun Long Chun as well. And I really found that environment, it also is really open, and the neighborhood is really nice and talkable, and also really easy to share their daily life, how they are doing today and weekend as well. But I think I still have a curious here for the administrator mind, because for that kind of non-goal setting or something not so much planning in advance, how long and what is the workload for the administration to prepare this kind of a residency? Because when you said it's a seven months to doing this, but I guess it's much longer to see to manage all the things for the administration role. Yeah. I'm trying to react on this, but of course I'm not the core person in that program, but I talked with the curators. I realized there are several points. Before the point, I will add more information about the story. For example, Wilson's own experience. Before Wilson's own experience, the villagers in Chun Long Chun, at the very beginning, they're still skeptical on the art program in villages, so that's why back to my answer is at the very beginning, creator and artist, not in the smooth conditions at the very beginning. So that's why for the first 3 weeks, whatever we call administrator or creator, they have to arrange a lot of meetings between the villagers and the artists, whatever the formal one, present the hour or just more casual gathering is important. The other example is we shared before is when I was residency in New York, in San Francisco, one residency AIR in countryside. They have the program like that every Thursday night. All the artists and the organizer must stay together for the dinner. And then by turning, everyone have to take care about the dining duties, something like that. So you can see the regular connection is more important than the well-planned schedule and the well briefed expectations. So I think for administrator, the most difficulties for such AIR program will be whether we can well sensitive to arrange more communications or connections, especially out of the TV screen, not through the email, but like our Chinese guy, more dinner, more drinks. Maybe the key point in the AIR. Between different, let's say, parties or stakeholders. Especially, I think for artists to generate ideas, more talking, more interaction
we can find more inspiration around there.
Thank you, Jeff. Raisin, you go first.
Yeah, I think it's about ice breaking. So I think the drinking and meals and the gatherings, informal gathering is really good for ice breaking for the community and also between the artists as well. Because I think we're trying to using some game and some programmer, they will try to use some game and also exercise for the artists, for the community to melt together and then do the ice breaking. But I think some simple way is just get a drink and have a good night, have a dinner together, or cooking for each other is really good as like cultural exchange and as ice breaking function for the residency program. Yeah.
And on top of this, I would say in the middle period, the difficulties for administrator is the sensibilities on changes. For example, back to Chinong case, what I mentioned, if you remember the videos, one case is the male artist trying to make some song about using Hakka languages. At the very beginning, because the artists and villagers are not very close, so that's why the artists decided to rent a house and stay overnight in the villages. This is point one. And after months or weeks, they get closer, buy drinks, dinners, all the gatherings. So the situation changed. The villagers initiatively provide all the materials, all the history to the artists, even as much as out of the artist's imagination or expect. So at that moment, we feel happy, but administrator may be sensitive to take the lead to manage how to go on or just let it go.
Thank you, Jeff, for bringing up his San Francisco experience, where he was incidentally also an ACC grantee, received a support to go to United States to research on residency program. And Wayson and Jeff brought up a very important point that residency program is not a business trip, if I may say. Yeah, it is these more casual relationship building opportunities that will make the whole thing very different. And also, it's always the unexpected things that you don't expect will bring you the most impact. Yeah, during an overseas residencies. Yeah, and we have 10 more minutes. I don't know whether we have a lot of questions from our audience, because I think I have a lot of questions for both of you, but I think I should leave some time from question from the audience. Do we have any question from the audience? I'm so sorry, I can't see from the screen, which is 3 meters away from me. Oh, wow. Okay. While they are pulling up the question, yeah, I have an observation more than a question, and I like Wayson and Jeff to respond to it. I think both of you all along this morning, you are talking about the same thing. Yeah, Jeff is talking about process is more important. It's being spontaneous and being very dynamic process. And Wayson was talking about gardening, and I think it's the same thing, that residency program maybe at the end of the day is to provide a platform, a situation where we plant the seed. But then what will grow up from the seed, we cannot engineer. Yeah, and I think this is the beauty from it. And why so? Because if you think of a healthy ecosystem, you need many different species. You need big trees, you need grasses, you need ferns, you need the birds and the bees, and to embrace the diversity. Yeah, and to prepare for the unexpected, something beautiful may come out from it. Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah.
So for me, I think for by using so-called administrative administrative wording, I would say some periodical review or some evaluation in different stage is more important. The evaluation is not going for the good or bad. It's thinking about, shall we change the strategy or shall we add more tactics for the next stage? Just like when just get back to the concept gardening, which means by stage you realize some development over there. You have to think whether you have to fine tune your directions. Although at the very beginning you realize you have the clear visions on what to do. For example, connections with not only people but the place. So based on this vision, you must have a kind of the so-called outcome for the final stage. But between the middle stage and final stage, whether we have enough room for fine-tune in the details for the final outcomes. So that's why I think a periodical review is something.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, and we now see some very interesting question from the audience. Yeah. If I may, should I choose one that's asking for both, that's directing to both Jeff and Wilson? Yeah, to answer. The question is, do you think we as arts manager should set KPI with artists in order to complete the residency program with a workable timeline, review and evaluate from time to time with the artists? Okay, as administrators think the same. This is the same question that I posed with Wilson and Jeff before the workshop during our preparation.
But I'd love to hear the Wilson's point first.
Okay, Wilson, yeah, can you respond to this first?
I think KPI doesn't matter to bother me for decide do I joining this residency program, and also I kind of have some lack of freedom as well. The problem is how we are setting the expectation together, and also the expectation table is clear. So then I noticed, okay, how long and when I have this kind of outcome products, and also how many artists I need to meet, and how long the pieces I need to create. So that is when the expectation setting in the very beginning. So then I will have an emotion to prepare, and then to grab the so-called material, and then to finding the way to build up and produce the outcomes for the public. Because I think it's not only for the organization, I think it's for the public, and also the food, and also is building up for the artists as well. For example, from Jeff, when Jeff talking about the connecting community, I also think about is dance audience building program as well, and activity. Because in Hong Kong, we always said dance audience is not so much, and so I think if I'm a dance artist, then I can participate in the residency and program. Then it also benefits more audience to come to my theater performance. So that also is win-win situations from the kind of KPI setting or something, that kind of activity as well. Yeah, that's my response.
Yeah. So for me, I would say, can we be creative on making or inventing or deducing the KPI? For example, for me, I'm also thinking how can we make a kind of new. For example, I already mentioned, can we make the score for KPI by stage? And even one most important example is what we and Josephine share is, can we evaluate the outcome 5, 7, or 10 years after the program? Especially for AIR case rather than exhibition. Why I said so, not only just a dream. through my own knowledge on exhibition history. It's also the same. If you remember Impressionism, the first Impressionism exhibition, no one cared. Just treat it as a kind of I would say gossip or just a news. No one think this is important. Where the name Impressionism happened, cornered over there, but only after many years we realize that the exhibition is something. So similarly, in AIR or whatever, I think arts in general, when we evaluate the outcome or the benefit, it should be not only focused on the 1 year, 2 years after the program.
Yeah, agree absolutely. Because in Chinese, we always say we need 10 years to plant trees and 100 years to nurture a talent. I hope that our policymakers can have the patience, and we need to have a creative way on how to evaluate programs like this, residency program like this. And we have less than 2 minutes, 1 minute. At first, I do have another very interesting question, but I don't think we will have time to tackle on it. Maybe after the summit, we can continue. The conversation is, can we establish a Hong Kong-style residency program in Hong Kong that fit our local community? And fit a wider vision of making Hong Kong into an international cultural exchange center. And we'll leave it to the future to discuss this question. And my final thought is actually residency program is something very Chinese if you think of it. We might in Asian China practice the first form of residency program where the aristocrat, noble house, nobleman, they will hold artists in their home, talented people in the home. And the most famous Mang Xiongguan was said that he hosted 3,000 artists in his big mansion. So let's try to develop this Asian Chinese practice further in Hong Kong as well as elsewhere. So I got this reminder that I have to end this question. So thank you so much, Jeff, and thank you so much, Wei-Sin, for the preparation and the most interesting and enjoyable discussion with me. And thank you also to the audience for joining us this morning. You hope you enjoy the summit as much as we do. And please take a few minutes to complete the post-summit survey to be shown in Zoom later for our review. And we hope to see you again next year without face mask. Thank you. Take care.